What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fomo Factory. Just like my hairline, Bitcoin is having a small pullback right here, but it's still okay, right? Let's take a quick look at the market. This is an extra video. I will make another video for this afternoon where I will discuss some of your reviews on my YouTube channel, looking at altcoins, the good altcoins, the bad altcoins. So if you always have any recommendations, questions, suggestions, leave them in the comments and I'm gonna take the comments down with me in this video. Now, I would just like to analyze the market real quick. I'm gonna make this video too long. The video for this afternoon is pre-recorded, but this video is like straight out of the trash. Now, what I would like to look at is mainly the Bitcoin dominance, because the Bitcoin dominance is also having a pullback. And that's the reason for people now to say like, yeah, maybe there's an alt season coming and this and that. And it kind of depends on what you mean by that. I said that yesterday as well. I think like an alt season is of course where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. Right now, if I look at this chart right here, let me remove these drawings right here. But if I look at this chart, I don't feel like altcoins are really outperforming Bitcoin. I mean, this was also where we are right now. And at the end of the day, the macro trend was still up. What I think is very important to know, that as long as the Bitcoin dominance stays above, well, let's say 47, 48, well, between 47 and 49%, as long as the dominance stays above that, we do not have to expect any form of an altcoin season anytime soon. Yeah, and it is quite interesting that the bull market support band is running up here, and we have this huge support, right? So I would be surprised if we see an alt season where the dominance goes back down. It's like Benjamin Cohen also said, we spent 2 years in this range, and it probably did not happen just to have a small fake out and go back down in it. So I don't expect the blood to be over, which is a good thing, right? People sometimes say like, you're an altcoin bear. No, I'm freaking bullish on altcoins and I want to get a lot of altcoins and make a lot of money on altcoins. But therefore, I first want to have the best entry on altcoins, of course, to make the most out of it. I'd rather go with a 20x than with a 5x. But in order to get that, you not always want to look at the highest possible prices, but also at the lowest possible entries, right? Which is super important. Yeah, and as far as I see in the chart right now, it looks like, okay, we can go down a little bit, give altcoins a little room to breathe, and then maybe they will fall down again. For Bitcoin, it's basically still the fact that we're also looking very strong right here, and we may even can bounce to $35,000. But yeah, you know, it's still the pre-halving year, and every pre-halving year, Bitcoin goes down to below or slightly above its lows, right? Now, there are, of course, diminishing returns for Bitcoin, and I also understand that there are diminishing losses, right? So if we ever see 15.5K again, I doubt it, but it doesn't mean we cannot go back to around 19, 20 maybe, right? That's always so far what plays out in every cycle, and so far this cycle doesn't look that different to me. If we look at the total 3, the altcoin market, it is, I don't know, because the bull market support band is just one of the most interesting moving averages out there, the 20 and the 21 weekly moving average. It's called a bull market support band because, as you can see right here, in a bull market, it acts as support, right? But in the bear market, you can better call it a bear market resistance band. Because every time we get there, we have some fake outs here and there, but overall we get a rejection in a bear market. As you can see, we even went above it for a long time and still fell below it, right? And what we are doing right now is, when the XRP news came out, we had a wick above it, but we fell right back in it, and now we are fighting the bull market support band. So it's really hard for either bulls or bears to come up with a conclusion based on this chart, like which way it is going. It's battling right here, and the altcoin market really needs to show some strength right now to clearly break above it. But still, then again, I am not really bullish next week or the week after that, because you saw here as well, we broke above it in, let's say, January, but still in May we fell back below it, and it turned out that it wasn't sustainable enough, right? So yeah, I am being cautious when it comes to that. If we take a look at the total altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair, again, it bounced off the 0.5, no, sorry, the 0.618 on the Fibonacci tool. Pretty perfect bounce right there as well, by the way. We came up, we hold up really decent for so far, right? And it could definitely be that we follow this drawing, right? Give or take, that we will stay in this range for a couple of months like we did last cycle as well. We fell all the way down back below from here to here where we are right now. We hovered there for a couple of months, and then altcoins really made their bottom on its Bitcoin pair, right? That's still possible now as well, as we are kind of doing the same thing so far. So it could be a boring time so far in the couple next, months. Yeah, if you ask me, like, I just don't know if it's already time to buy altcoins right now, because it's likely still that Bitcoin goes lower, right? That's the fact. That's a fact. That's happened so far in every cycle, and I don't see a reason why now it can't, right? Like, you might say, like, well, Bitcoin now is good news, ETF, this and that. Yeah, well, when Bitcoin here had its bottom from 3K all the way to 14K, there was a lot of good news there as well, right? Otherwise, it didn't went up that hard, like twice as hard as now. We still came down and almost made a double bottom, right? And then you have the argument like, yeah, Black Swan, COVID. Like, there's always a reason for it to go down, right? Now we can get a recession or whatever. That's highly likely that that happens as well. Yeah, and if Bitcoin goes down, yeah, then altcoins are really in big, trouble, because Bitcoin, like, altcoins on their Bitcoin pair are down so much right now. So the only reason if a certain altcoin is holding up a little bit, it's because Bitcoin went up, right? Because on the Bitcoin pair, these altcoins are down. So what now happens if Bitcoin goes down, right? On the Bitcoin pair, they already lost that big ass support right here. So then we will definitely see new lows for altcoins. And again, exceptions always there, but overall, right? I'm not going to cherry pick the few altcoins that always do something different. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Also, what's quite interesting, this is What Do You Meme, by the way. For the people that are in What Do You Meme, that's my project. You can now stake your What Do You Meme tokens on our D app. The D app is going to get some renovation because it's going to look a lot better. But here you can choose your staking period, choose the amount of tokens that you want to stake, and then you can stake it and take the profits from the investments that we make, right? We already invested in DexCheck and a couple of others. What's also quite interesting still, if I look at this chart right here, if we go to the social metrics, that shows how many people are involved in crypto when it comes to following YouTubers, subscribing to those channels, following analysts and layer ones on Twitter and all of that. It's still quite low, right? It recently had a decent bounce, of course. But overall, that's a red line. It's still in a downward trend, right? So it just shows that people are leaving crypto right now, right? And if we want to see a real good sustainable alt season, then we need new money, new people coming into the market. Well, it shows that people are leaving, right? So what could cause a bounce for a certain project is that liquidity is shifting, right? We saw that with XRP pumped, but it's at the same time because the dominance for Bitcoin went down. So people put their Bitcoin money into XRP. And that's kind of the thing. It's now just shifting money here and there. And if you are really on top of the news, you can trade that. But if you want the market overall to go up and really see a sustainable alt season, I do think that we just need to see new people coming into the market. And we are now still also with this thing in a downward trend, right? We are in this phase right here. And in this phase where that's at the bottom, that's really the time you want to step in. Now, again, I'm not saying try to time the bottom, but I'm also saying not buy every single dip on the way down, because then it's a very easy way to lose your money. Yeah, if you look at the ROI after cycle peak, right, we are now at the green one, so these are the bear markets from where they started until where they lasted, right, where the bottom was. That's a really big reason for me to say that the Bitcoin bottom is probably in, because if we are about to see a new bottom for Bitcoin, then this is by very far the longest bear market that we ever had. Does it seem that, you know, logical to me? If this right here was the bottom, that 15.5K, then it's quite interesting to see that we are actually on average of 2018 and 2015, 14, 15, right? So it makes a lot more sense to me. Now, there's another chart. Yeah. So if you look at this, and we just showed 2023. This is Bitcoin year-to-date ROI, right? So if you ever wonder, like, okay, how high might it go this year? I just look at this chart and I feel like, well, right, we have this 4-year cycle. I think you know that right now, right? So in that case, it's very comparable to 2019. And also to 2015, right? And if you look where we are right now, right, then I do feel like, okay, in 2015, we were sitting a lot lower. In 2019, we were sitting a lot higher. Now, if you take the average of these 2 years, and I copied this from Benjamin, and I'm not gonna lie to about that, right? But if you look at the average, let me show you this. Yeah. So this is the average of the previous 2 pre-halving years, right? Then you'll see we quite following it, right? We started off way better, right? And now we are really getting on track of that, right? But what you saw in the previous 2 years is that we first went up, and in this period we made the top for Bitcoin, and then we slowly went down again. Right. So I do feel like, yeah, okay, Bitcoin can go, of course, a little higher, and it can go above average. I mean, it's an average, but it's not an average for no reason, right? And therefore, I feel like, okay, we are pretty much in line with the average right now. Bitcoin won't go sideways exactly for the rest of the year, of course, and it's very likely that we also go down. So far, we have been outperforming the average at the beginning of the year, and we're now on track. So yeah, it's interesting. Will we get here like we did? I don't think so. I must say, like, more people are now also, it's also logical thinking, right? More people know about Bitcoin, more people start to believe in Bitcoin in the long term, right? In 2015, it was way more speculative and people did not really know if it was coming back. We all know by now, like, okay, Bitcoin is not going anywhere, right? So that makes the panic sellers a lot less, which also makes sure that the price won't go that low again, right? Plus, in my honest opinion, if I look at this Bitcoin chart, it's quite interesting, a good argument for me to say why the bottom is probably in. Well, if you look at the returns or the losses, we went down 77%. That's the best bear market so far when it comes to percentages, and by far, right? This one was less, and this bear market was even way less. Or more in that case, when it comes to losses. Well, I do feel like, okay, so we had COVID, we had war, we have a possible recession coming up, we had Voyager, Luna, whatever. Like a list of, like, I don't know, 20 things, if not more. And still, it is Bitcoin's best bear market by far so far. What the hell does it take to make a new low, right? One single recession? It will cause a good downwards trend for Bitcoin for sure, but a new low is like maybe a bit far-fetched. So therefore, I do think that the Bitcoin bottom is in. Personally bought at 16K, which is quite close to the bottom. So I'm definitely not complaining about my average. But then again, that doesn't mean that altcoins have seen their bottom, right? So be a little careful with that, because again, like if you look at certain altcoins, and you know, I can pick whatever and you can make the argument, well, that's not a good altcoin, whatever. If you look at Gala, for example, It's basically sitting at the same level, right? Almost as where it was in January, right? 2023. Well, if you look at where Bitcoin was sitting, well, basically at the lows. Now, Bitcoin 2x'd, but this altcoin has really not done much, right? So I'll always look at altcoins and I, for example, overlay Bitcoin on it. And this is a big thesis for me why it's possible that altcoins will go down a lot more, right? If you look at Bitcoin went all the way up from 16K, 15 even, to 30, 31. In the same period, Gala hasn't really moved. So what now if Bitcoin decides to come down, right? What happens to Gala or insert altcoin in that case? Yeah, and again, it's not that unlikely to me that Bitcoin will go down. So far in these pre-halving years, it's always the case. Also, if you look at these monthly returns, right? If you look at 2019, you'll see that we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green months in a row, and then basically the rest of the year was red, right? 2023 we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green months. Can basically the rest be red, right? 2015 we had also halfway, give or take, right? 1 green, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, 7, right? And the rest was also red. Right? It's pretty likely that we see a couple of red months now. We really haven't seen that yet, right? So, and you'll also just see that mostly at the beginning of the year, most things are green, and later on the year it's getting more red. So that compared to the fact that that Bitcoin always goes down in these pre-halving years, right? It's just how the cycle works, whatever the news is at that specific moment. Possible recession coming up, S&P, NASDAQ, all of that, quite sitting at the all-time high. What will happen if they will finally see a retrace, right? There is a lot of reason for me to believe that Bitcoin will go down a bit, and that would cause the altcoins to go down hard on their dollar pair, right? And yeah, still, if Bitcoin decides to go up instead of down, yeah, we kind of seen that whenever Bitcoin goes up, right, the dominance also goes up, right? And in that case, altcoins still go down on their Bitcoin pair, right? And the further the dominance goes up, the harder the crash for altcoins on their dollar pair is when Bitcoin decides to correct on its dollar pair. So therefore, I'm just not so bullish yet on altcoins. And that's a good thing because I want to have a lot of good projects in my portfolio. And so far, it's not what you want to hear if you are bullish on altcoins, but it's just my I've been saying this for, I think, a year right now. And so far, I'm so happy that I haven't bought anything yet, right? Because still, if you look at altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, it has been going down. It has been going down. So I can now get the best entry. Why? Because I bought Bitcoin, right? And even if you don't have Bitcoin, but you just have dollars, okay, cool. Wait for Bitcoin to correct. If it never comes, if there will never be a Bitcoin correction, man, I fucked it all up. I would have been so wrong. But in my experience, last 10 years, it's like not up only. That's just not how it works, right? When everything is going up, it feels like it can never go down. And when everything is going down, it feels like it can never go up until it happens. That's what the market does. So yeah, that's my thesis. I want to wrap it up right here. Take long enough for now. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your bell notification. This afternoon I will review some altcoins of yours. Leave a comment in the comments with your opinion, things you would like me to respond to or whatever.